welcome to this channel. In today's episode, we're going to look at the 1971 India-Pakistan War, in which Pakistan surrendered with 93,000 plus personnel to the Indian Army. It must have been some extraordinary events which made such a proud army surrender to the Indians in front of the international media, and that too unconditionally. The war lasted just around 2 weeks, in which a new country called Bangladesh was born, and the operations by the Indian Army were so effective in terms of mentally as well as militarily defeating the Pakistani army that their army had no other choice but to come and sign a surrender, yes, a surrender document. Something quite unthinkable in modern or ancient times, whichever you call it. We look at the first operation. The first one was Operation Trident. It was a brilliant operation by the Indian Navy, in which they used the missile boats. Out of all the ships that they zeroed in on the usage of the missile boats. That one was an improvisation in itself. The missile boats are meant to be defending strategic assets close to the ports. However, Indian Navy improvised on this weapon and sent it out into the sea and made it attack the Karachi harbor. Well, how did they do it? Well, first of all, they dragged these missile boats, 3 of them, out into the open waters in the Arabian Sea and set them loose just when they were in the range of the Karachi harbor. The great advantage of these missile boats is that they had good missiles and they had good radar systems with which they could accurately fire their weapons. So, out of the 3 missile boats, 2 of them did actually fire and destroy 2 or 3 Pakistani destroyers and a number of their ships. And the third one did the most damage. It went up to the Karachi harbor, and set its sights on the oil depots which were located there. Fired 2 missiles, out of which one of them did hit the target and set the entire oil depot ablaze. It was a great sight for the Indian Navy and the Indian public, and for us, it was a great achievement. And all the 3 missile boats made their way home safely. This sight of the Karachi harbor burning for the next 7 days was picked up not only by, say, Indian spy planes, but also by the Soviet satellites, which were Soviet, and of course the other American and British satellites which were up in space. Great achievement, great outcome, and a great morale boost for the Indian Army, and a great smashing of the morale of the Pakistani armed forces. Another coffin on the blow, another nail in the coffin came next in the form of the Indian Air Force. The Indian Air Force launched an operation on December 14th, which was just 2 days from the actual surrender. By December 14th, the Pakistanis were on the back foot and the Indians were very much on the front foot. And the Pakistani governor of the East Bengal, Dr. A.M. Malik, he had set up a meeting on the morning of 14th December, in which he invited the commissioner of the United Nations Refugee Committee, John Kelly, along with some of his top brass, to the Governor House at Dhaka. This information reached the Indian intelligence services, which was promptly relayed onto the Indian Air Force. The Indian Air Force scrambled its jets from Guwahati and made a run for Dhaka. It was 21 minutes flying time from Guwahati to Dhaka, and they had around 4 to 5 minutes to actually complete the mission, because they wanted to cause the maximum damage by bombing the target right during the meeting, which they did quite successfully. Not only did the meeting break up in the middle, all the attendees made a run for the air shelters which are located within the premises of the Governor House. In one of those air shelters, it was this proud governor of East Pakistan, Dr. A.M. Malik, actually scribbled his resignation letter in front of John Kelly. It was such an impact that the government dissolved, the government of East Pakistan dissolved, and it crushed the morale of the Pakistanis even further. I think it was one of the greatest turning points of this particular war. And of course, it did great. It was a great media. It was a great media achievement as well, because the photographs of the Pakistani governor house being bombed by Indian MiGs was made great news and great news bites. The third one is from the Indian Army. Let's look at the Indian Army's Tangail airdrop. It was a battalion um, size contingent which was planned to be dropped at Tangail, which was behind the enemy lines. So the enemy lines were on the bridgehead of Pungli, and the 93rd Brigade of the Pakistani Army was making their way back inland, was making the way towards Dhaka. And the purpose of this para drop was to cut off the Pakistani brigade and stop them on the tracks. It was done with great success, actually. So Indian Army did drop the troops, and the 93rd Brigade was cut off. But there were even better plans by the Indian Army itself. They wanted to publicize this particular airdrop. However, they didn't have the actual pictures of the Tangail airdrop, so they relied on the public relation officer of the Indian Army, who scrambled some photographs which were taken around roughly a year back of the Agra airdrop, in which a brigade strength size of the Indian Army soldiers were para-dropped at Agra. A brigade, mind you, a brigade consists of around 4,000 to 5,000 soldiers, whereas a battalion consists of around 800 to 1,000 soldiers. So it was like 1:5. So this news itself acted like a force multiplier, 1:5. And the international media lapped it up, as did the Pakistanis, who believed that the brigade size strength Indian soldiers had just been para-dropped outside Dhaka at Tangail. It was a big impact. It was a major impact in the course of the war. The fourth major event was the actual surrender itself. It was around December 15 that the Pakistanis were trying to get a ceasefire in place. They were on the back foot, of course, and they had sent the word out to the Americans that they are looking for a ceasefire. The Indians latched onto it and sent Lieutenant General J.F.R. Jacob from Calcutta to Dhaka with the supposedly ceasefire documents. When the Lieutenant General Jacob landed at Lieutenant General A.K. Niazi's office in Dhaka, A.K. Niazi was the Commander-in-Chief of the Pakistani Eastern Command. He had a surprise for him. The document did not have the word ceasefire in it. It rather had the words surrender, unconditional surrender, written on it. This caught the Pakistanis' top brass by surprise. They were shocked. They flatly refused. And at that point of time, it was the genius in Lieutenant General J.F.R. Jacob. He also stood his ground and told the Pakistanis that, look, you have 30 minutes to decide whether to take it or leave it. After that, we're not going to guarantee your safety from the Indian Army, which has a brigade size, strength waiting outside Dhaka, and the Mukti Bahini itself, who was inside Dhaka and willing to take revenge on these Pakistani soldiers. Well, as they say, the rest is history. Pakistani soldiers led by Lieutenant General A.K. Niazi decided that enough is enough. They can't take this any further, and they decided to surrender. And the surrender they did at 4:30 at the race course in Dhaka, and it was a surrender that was covered by the international media, and also there was the general public who were there to see the proud Pakistani army surrender to the Indian Armed Forces. This was the biggest surrender since the World War II, and will remain most probably one of the biggest surrenders ever to happen in any part of the world. This kind of events are golden in terms of the Indian history, Indian Armed Forces history. It was a great event, and that's why it is celebrated as Vijay Diwas by the Indian Army. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this talk, and please like, share, and subscribe this channel. Cheers.